Yes. Yes. Mm. You got right? Yes. 3 plus, okay, can say we'll get enter. You're getting the outputs right? Yes. If you want to increase the font, right, go to options, configure ideally, the first one, size, you can give some 20, yes. Say apply, apply, okay, okay, fine. Now we can check, we can work with this, right? Yes. And if you want to work with batch mode, new file, right? Okay. You can type your code here, save it and say run module here. Run option is there up, right? Click that run up. Not, no, I'm not saying to type it. Yeah, run module. Run, type your code and run that, right? Yes. Understood, right? Yes. Then stop share your screen. Okay, you can stop sharing your screen, right? Okay. You can just try with some. Okay. So today this I discuss about data types in Python, right? Data types. Okay. Every organization use case. Every organization use case has got data and operations. Generally data represented using data types or variables. Data represented using data types or variables. Operations represented using functions. Every organization use case has got data and operations. Data using data types and operations using functions, right? Yes. Just if I take the example of any organization, if I take the example of a bank, right? Yes. If I take the example of a bank consists of customers and employees. Customers has got data and operations. Okay, data like for example, customer name, account number, balance, customer name, account number, balance. Okay. Branch. Hyderabad. Operations like withdraw operations, deposit operation, transfer operation. So this data represented using data types or variables, right? Using data types or variables. This operations using functions. Okay. Similarly for employees also, right? Employee data and employee operations. For employees also we have got data and operations.
Sir, can you go up once for just 1 second? All right, sir.
So okay, data by using data types or variables, operations by using functions. Similarly for employees also data and operations, right? Data like the employee ID 101, employee name, James, salary 90,000, right? Designation manager. So this represented using data types or variables, right? Data types or variables. Now this operations like calculating tax, calculating net salary, right? All this by using functions, operations using functions. Data by using data types or variables, operations by using functions, right? Yes. So any organization has got a data and operations, data by using data types, variables, operations by using functions. Okay. Now just observe this, right? Yes. If I take any programming language, if I discuss like C or C++ or Java, right? If I talk about any or Python, any programming language, they represents data, like represents data using data types or variables, using data types or variables. On this data you perform operations, right? On this data you perform operations using functions. Later we discuss about functions in brief. So now our discussion is on data types or variables. Okay. First I'll come back to this. First I'll discuss about variables, come back to this data types, right? Yes. Fine. So any programming language, it's got data, operations, data by representing data types or operations using functions. If I compare C or C++ or Java with Python, okay, if I compare this, right, Python supports dynamic data types. It supports what? Dynamic data types. Python supports dynamic data types. Okay, for example, in other programming like C, C++, Java, if I want to create a variable like x as 10, compulsory the data type defining compulsory, right? Y equal to 4.5. I need to say like float y equal to 4.5. Z equal to hello, right? String Z equal to hello, string, right? String Z equal to hello. Without a data type defining, I cannot create a variable, right? But in Python, directly I can say x as 10, y as 4.5, z as hello. No need to define the data types, right? What kind of variable x is? What kind of variable x is means based on the data type defining, you're saying it is integer type. Y is what kind of data type? Y is what type? Float type, because you're defined as float. Z is what? String type. But here in Python, what kind of variable x is? How can you say what kind of variable x is means what value you have assigned to it? Integer value you have assigned. So integer variable gets created dynamically, right? During runtime. Based upon what value you are assigning. For assigning integer value, integer variable gets created. For example, if you want to see the type of x is what type? Integer type. Why it is integer? Because you assigned integer value. Try to answer type of y is what type? Float type. Why it is float? Because you assigned a float value. Based upon what value you are assigning, based on that, the variable creates dynamically, right? Yes. Type of z is string type, right? What value you are assigning to x based on that. Okay. Now I'm going to discuss 4 cases, right? What happens internally whenever you are creating variables in Python. Case 1, defining variables, right? Case 1, defining a variable in Python. For example, x equal to 10. X equal to 10. You are defining. Internally, an object gets created. Internally, an object gets created with value 10. It's going to occupy some physical memory location address, some memory address, right? That address is returned to x. Now try to answer, right? Just what x is storing. What x is storing. Don't say like x is storing 10. Don't say like x storing 10. X stores the address. X stores the address. Here 3 things you need to understand, right? Print x. Print x means displays the content at that address. What is the content? See, whenever you say print x, it goes to that address and prints the content at that address. What content at that address? Displays the content at that address. 10, right? It goes to that address and prints the content there, right? Now, if I want to print the address, if I want to print the address, print id of x, id function. In Python, we have got a function called id for prints the address of x. That is 103070, right? Yes. Type of x, right? Prints the data type of x. Data type of x is what? Integer type, because you assign the integer value, right? Integer variable gets created, right? 3 things you need to understand. If you want to print the content, print x. If you want to print the address, id of x. If you want to print the data type, right? Type of x. If you want to print the data type of x, right? Print x, address of x, and type of x. Now observe this case 2, right? This is case 1. Defining a single variable, an object with value 10 creates as the address, printing the content, printing the address, and printing the time. Now, I want the sessions to be interactive, so everyone try to respond through voice or through chat panel. You can unmute yourself and you can just give your responses, right? Here, x value is 10, y is 20. How many objects going to get created here? X is 10, y is 20. How many objects, right? Two objects, right? Two objects. First object with value 10, it has some address. The address is returned to x. Y equal to 20 means one more object gets created with value 20, right? Yes. With some address 10404090, right? This address is given to y. Now try to answer whenever I say print x. What is that value it prints, right? Print x 10, right? Yes. Everyone try to answer. Address of x, id of x means
103070.
3070, right? Yes. Type, data type of x. Type of x is what?
Integer.
Because you have assigned a integer value to x, so it is. Now print y
20.
20, right? Now if I want to print the address of y, id of y
104090.
104090, and if I want to print in C or Java, you don't see this type function because no need of, because you will be providing that type. Here type of x is what type? Integer, right? Okay, so here two different variables x and y with two different values, then two different objects gets created with two different addresses, right? So you can just check two different variables with two different values, two different objects with two different addresses. This thing you need to understand: printing the content, printing the address, printing the type. Print y, address of the type. This is case 2, right? Yes.
So print type of y, sir.
Yeah, type of y. This type of y is integer. Now case 3. X, we have got x and y. X value is 10, y is 10. Now try to answer how many objects gets created here. X and y, two variables are there.
Two objects.
Everyone try to answer.
So one.
Two or one?
One.
Two objects, sir.
Yeah, here, yes, sir. Observe carefully. Only one object going to get created here. Okay. It is going to have some address 10307. This address is given to x. This is understood, right? Up to here, right? Now y equal to 10. Y also 10, right? Don't see here. One more object with value 10 is not going to get created. First, before creating the object for y, first it checks any object with value 10 is available or not. If available, the same address will be given to y. X is 10, y is 10. Assume if z value also 10, right? Don't think like three objects with value 10 going to get created. Only one object, and this x address is given. This address is given to x, y, and z. So here, what is your observation? If the contents are same, 10, 10, 10, only one object. Don't think like three objects with value 10. Duplicate objects not going to get created. X, Y, and Z, they are sharing the same content and the address. They're going to share the same content and the address. I'm going to show you all these 4 cases practically, right? Now first understand this. I'll be showing you practically all these 4 cases.
So, but X and Y are
Yes.
use of X and Y address are different. Then how can be it is recognized by Python?
X and Y address are different. If the contents are different, then address will be different. If X is 10, Y is 20, Z is 30. So you can ask your query and please go into mute. I'm getting sounds. Everyone. Yes. X equal to 10, y equal to 10, z equal to 10. Okay, one object. But if x equal to 10, y equal to 20, z equal to 30, how many objects? If I say
Three objects.
Three.
3 objects gets created, means what is your observation here? If contents are different, multiple objects. If same content, one object, right? If x is 10, y is 20, two objects, right? But in 10 and 10, only one object. So when can you say two variables address will be different? Means if their contents are different. How can you say when two variables address is going to be the same? Means if their contents are same. Understood, right? Any other query here? Anyone?
No, sir.
Okay, now x, y, and z, they are sharing the same content and the address. Now if I say like a print x, I say like print x, right? Print y, print z.
So
Yes.
why they are sharing the same address?
See here,
Like there are three variables here, so they are sharing the one address. In other languages, there are different addresses for
Right.
different variables.
observe here. If x is 3 objects created or 1 object created here for x, y, and z.
Your
Only-
one object is created.
Only one object is
One
created.
object is created.
Only one object, right? It is there pointing, x is pointing, y and z, all they are pointing to the same object, because 3 objects are not going to get created here. Only one object and their address they're pointing to the same object. That's why the address are going to be the same for x, y, and z. If they are pointing to 3 different objects, then their addresses will be different, but they are pointing to the same. So that's why the address remains same.
Okay.
So internally one object only created for. If you give some x1 is 10, x2 is 10, x3 is 10, x4 is 10, x5 10, right? For all that 5 objects is not created, because only one object is 10 and that same address is given to all. It's not going to create 5 different objects, 5 objects with value 10, duplicating that objects 10. Not happens, won't happen, right?
So, sir, this concept is used for saving space, basically, right?
Yes, memory.
Okay. Okay.
X, Y, and Z, they are sharing the same content.
Sir,
Yes.
if any condition there is a some values has been changed. If we consider here example x, y, z, in some operation, if the x value is changed and it is 15, after the operation it is 15, x is 15, then what is the condition?
You mean to say that, okay, after some time you are changing that Z value to 30 or 50.
Yeah.
Then what happens, right? Just I'll come back to that. But before your query, I will just, you need to understand that case 4, right? Yes. I'll come back to your query, right? After discussing case 4. Okay. Print. Okay, here types will be same integer type only, right? Yes, type is going to be the integer type. Okay. Understood this case 3, everyone, right? Now observe this case 4. Case 4. Yeah, you have asked a query, right? Just now. X value is 10. Later I change that X value to 20. Observe here, X value is 10 here. But later here not two, previously in previous examples X and Y. Now X and X value was 10. Now I modified that X value to 20. Just now you asked a query, right? What if I modify that X value, right? X value was 10, one object gets created with value 10 with some address, right? The address is written to X. So what happens whenever I modify to 20? Anyone, just you can say, right? You can just interact whether your answers are correct or wrong, not a problem. If I say X equal to 20, what happens? What is your observation?
Sir, I think 20 will override 10.
1 second. Will it create a new object or will it override that object to 10?
The new object will be created.
Pardon?
I think it will be updated.
Override, sir.
Overriding.
Okay. Here it creates a new object. It creates a new object. Understand these things. I'll be showing you these things practically. 104080. This a new object is going to get created. X equal to 10. Just now I said, right? Just now you may ask one more query. If that contents is 10, 20, two objects or one object. If it is 10 and 10, one object, right? If the contents are same, 10 and 10, only one object I said. If 10 and 20, two objects, right?
Yes.
10 and 20 means two different objects gets created, right? Just before in case 3, if X value is 10, Y value is 20, Z value 30, how many objects?
One object.
X is 10, Y is 20, that is 30.
Three objects.
3 objects, right? For 10, 20 and 30. Okay. Now here two objects, X equal 10, X equal to 20. Now if I say print X, what is the X value it prints?
20.
Will it print a 10 or will it print a 20 or will it print both?
20, sir.
Will print both, sir.
So it prints the, for example, your salary last year 50,000. Your salary current this year, right? 80,000. Print salary, what it prints? Latest salary, right?
80.
80,000. So here it prints 20. Latest value it is going to print. X value was 10. Now X is 20. Print X prints 20. Please go into Meet, everyone. Satish, Avineni, please go into Meet. Okay, so just okay, I'm just keeping in unmuted status for just I want interaction, right, from you. So this is a programming language. It's practical oriented, nothing theoretical, right? So whenever if you want any background noise, anything, you can just give a response to the chat panel. You can type your answers in the chat panel, right? If you want any disturbance, anything, right? Otherwise you can just unmute yourself and you can just ask query or respond, right? Whether your answers is correct or wrong, keep responding, right? I want the sessions to be interactive. So print address of X means what is the address it is going to print? Address of X 10. Try to answer.
4080.
104080. This is fine. You understood print X, it prints 20. But now I got a query. Can I print the value of this object 10? So if I say print X first time, prints 20. Second time, if I say print X, it prints 20 only. 10 times, if I say print X, it prints 20 only, right? But is there any possibility of printing this value 10?
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yes.
So when an address is already allocated to the variable X, why is it creating another address?
So one thing, X can store, once again, X can store, a variable can store address of one object only. X cannot store the address of two objects.
No,
Yeah.
sir. I mean, what I mean to say is, why is it not overriding? If suppose I put a loop for X 100 times, then it will generate 100 objects, right?
No. Okay, one second. Yes, if values are different, then 100 objects gets created. If the values are different, if values are same, only one object. So here, okay, understood your query, but okay. So X equal to 10, X equal to 20. A new object gets created. What happens to this object 10? What happens to this object 10? That is one. Is it available, not available, or got removed?
It will be available.
To understand that, there is a concept called garbage collector in Python. Garbage, it's too early to discuss that, but just as of now, I'll give the overview, right, to understand what I. Okay, so I'll just give overview of this garbage collector so that you can understand what happens to this object. And for that, explaining about the garbage collector, right, I'll just go back to this case 3. Now try to observe these things. Garbage collector. What is the work of garbage collector? Removes unused objects from the memory. Removes unused objects from the memory. What do you mean by unused objects? What do you mean by unused objects, right? Objects whose reference count. Objects whose reference count is 0. We call them as unused or unreferred objects. Removes unused or unused objects or unreferred objects. Unused or unreferred, you can say. Removes unused or unreferred objects from the memory. Objects whose reference count is 0. We call them as unused or unreferred objects. These objects are immediately, these objects immediately removed. Immediately removed. Whose reference count is 0, these objects are immediately removed from the memory by garbage collector. Whose reference count is 0, these objects are immediately removed from the memory by garbage collector, right? But how come a object reference count becomes 0? What do you mean by reference count? How come an object reference count becomes 0? What is reference count? Reference count, in a simple way, number of variables. Reference count is nothing but number of variables pointing to an object. That is reference count. Or another way of defining, here X is storing this 10 object 10 address, Y also storing this address, Z also storing this address. All the three variables storing the same address, right? Number of variables storing the address of a object. Now based on this, right, reference count, number of variables pointing, or number of variables storing address of a object. Okay, now just observe this. Okay, to make you understand about this reference count garbage cutter, right? Now observe these things. There is an object with value 10. How many variables are pointing to this object? Everyone try to respond. How many variables are pointing to this
3.
object?
Three.
Three variables
3.
are pointing, X, Y, and Z, right? What is the reference count then? Reference count
3.
three, right? 3 variables are pointing, so reference count is 3. Okay, just now one of you were asking, right, what happens if I modify this Y value? Y value is 10, right? Now if I modify this Y value to 20, if I'm modifying the Y value to 20, means a new object with value 20 gets created with some address. The address is given to Y. Now Y is pointed to the new object. Now Y is not pointing to this object 10. Y is made to point to the new object, right? It's storing the address. Y is storing the address of new object. Y is not storing this. Now reference count becomes what? Reference count is 2, right? Yes. Only X and Z are pointing now. Y is pointing to the new object. Slowly I am modifying the Z value also to 30. What happens? One more object with value 30 gets created, right? With some address. This address is given to Z. Now Z is not pointing to this. Z is not pointing to this, right? Z is pointing to different object. So reference count becomes what?
1.
1. Only X is pointing now. y and z, they are pointing to different objects. Previously 3 were pointing to this, reference count was 3. I was just want to say how come a object reference count becomes 0 and how a garbage cutter removes, right? Immediately garbage cutter removes that object from the memory whenever reference count becomes 0. Now slowly I am modifying the x value also to x value also modified to 50. A object gets created with value 50 with some address. The address is given to x. Now x equal to 50, new object. Now x is not pointing to this, x is not pointing to this, right? Reference count becomes 0. None of the variables are pointing. Previously 3 variables were pointing, right? 3 variables were pointing. Now the 3 variables are pointing to different objects, 10, 20, 30, 50. Now none of the variables are pointing to this object 10. Now it is unused object, it is unused object or unreferred object. None of the variables are referring it or none of the variables using it, right? Unused or unreferred objects. Whenever any object reference count becomes 0, then immediately garbage collector will remove this object from the memory. Understood everyone? What is garbage collector? Removes unused or unreferred objects. When it removes means whenever its reference count becomes 0, it immediately gets removed. What do you mean by reference count? Number of variables pointing to an object. Initially the reference count was 3. Slowly they got modified. There it became 2, it became 1, it became 0. Then when it became 0, then it gets removed by the garbage collector, right? Yes. Now any query in this, anyone? Hello?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, not a problem. Which we'll be discussing in brief about this garbage collector in our regular session, right? When we go with advanced concepts. Okay. We'll discuss in brief with multiple examples about the garbage collector. Now coming back with that observation of case 3. Now coming to this case 4, right? X is 10, x is, forget about x equal to 20 for some time. X equal to 10. What is the reference count?
1.
1, right? Only one variable x is pointing. Reference count is 1. Now slowly I modified the x value to 20. Slowly I modified the x value to 20, right? Now x is pointing to the new object. X is not pointing to this. X is not pointing to this. Reference count becomes what?
0.
0. Whenever reference count becomes 0 means immediately this object
Garbage
gets
collector.
garbage cutter removes this object from the memory.
Memory.
Only this is existing. So can we print the value of the previous? I was just asking you a query, right? X equal to 10, x equal to 20. Always it prints 20 and it's 20 address only. What happens to the previous object? It gets removed. It's not available. We cannot print the value of that object, right? Yes. Okay. Understood all these 4 cases, right, everyone? Now I'll show you these 4 cases practically, right? Yes. So whenever we install Python, right, go to the start programs, check where your Python is available, Python 3.10, right? Click this Python 3.10. Okay. Ideally, you can see, click that ideally. Yes. Python shell gets opened, right? Okay. Now in this Python shell, file, new file, right? Say new file. In Python, the comment starts with hash symbol. Hash means comment, not executable, right? Case 1, I'm saying defining a variable, right? Yes. Okay, I'm saying x equal to 10. If I want to print the value, I need to say what? Print x, printing the content. If I want to print the address, which function? ID function. See, Python provides different colors here. If you see different colors for different functionalities, comment in red color, built-in functions like print in violet color. ID is also a built-in function, right? ID of x, the address it is going to print, where exactly it is stored, type, the data type, right? Data type of x. Save it. I created a separate folder for this batch, right? Yesterday, Python 9 p.m. right? Okay. Python 9 p.m. This was that folder, right? Fine. int1.py. Okay. Run module is print x. I'm keeping both side by side. Print x 10. Address of x. Type of x. Integer type, right? Integer type. Print x, address of x, and type of x. Type of x is integer type. Now observe this case 2. So observe this output once again. Content, address, and type. Type is what? Int type. Now observe this case 2. I'll copy the same file, new file. If you want to write case 2, defining two different variables. See this case 2 once. This case 2, two different variables with two different values, two different objects with two different addresses, right? Defining two different variables with two different values. Then two different objects gets created. With the two different addresses, right? Two different variables with two different values, two different objects gets created with the two different addresses. Now observe this x equal to 10, y equal to 20. Print x, address of x, type of x. Copy these 3 lines for y also, right? Yes. Print y, address of y, type of y, address of y, and type of y, right? Yes. Now observe, save it. int2.py, int2.py, any name .py extension, right? Yes. Now if I run this, can you please answer? The address of x and y, will it be same or different? X address and y address same
Different.
or
As per the
Different.
explanation by you, it is same.
yes,
X and Y address is same.
so x and y address are going to be different. As the contents are different, the address is also different, right? Yes. 10, 20 contents, the address is this 760. So addresses are different. Types, the integer types only, but addresses will, why they are different means different content, different objects, different addresses, right? Yes. Case 2, right? Now file, new file, case 3. Defining, okay, one second. Defining two different variables with same values, right? With same values. Two different variables with same values. Then how many objects?
One object.
Then only one object gets created. Only one object gets created. Address is returned to both. Defining two different variables with same values, then only one object gets created and its address is returned to both the objects, right? Both the variables, not objects. X is 10, Y is 10. Observe this. Print X, address of X, type of X. Print Y, address of Y, type of Y. Can you please answer the address of X and Y? Is it going to be the same or different?
Same.
Address of X and Y, right? It should be same, right? It must be same because the contents are same. So the addresses also should be same. The types also will be same, right? Int 3.py, right? Okay. Run module, right? Yes. The addresses are same, right? Contents are same, 10 10. The addresses also same, only one object, one address, integer type, right? Yes. Okay, fine. Case 4, observe this case 4 once. Case 4. Two variables with defining two variables with same name. Two variables with same name but with different values. Then two different objects gets created. Then two different objects gets created and the previous one gets removed. Previous one gets removed, right? X equal to 10. X value is 10, right? X equal to 20. Print X means what is X value? It means yes,
20.
20. Address of X, this 20 address. Type of X, this integer type, right? Yes. Into 4.py, right? Into .py. Okay. Run module. It prints 20 address, 20, this address of 20 and type integer type, right? Yes. Understood all these four cases, everyone? Any query in these four cases? Defining variables in Python.
No, sir.
If I go back to this case 3, right? Just I got one query. x equal to 10, y equal to 10.0. Now try to say address of y and x, will it be same or different?
Different.
So before you answer, try to say the type of y here,
Float.
float type, and the type of x,
Int.
int, right?
Integer.
Type of y is float, type of x is integer, right? Yes. So two different objects. So 10 and 10.0 are not same, they are different, right? Two different objects, two different addresses. So let's observe this, right? One is integer, one is float. Integer object, this is float object, right? Two different objects, right? Understood all these
Sir,
four cases? Yes.
how Python know that it is an integer and it is a float?
So based
But we
upon,
have not defining the.
so here Python supports dynamic data types, right? Python supports dynamic data types. What value you are assigning to x? Integer value, if you're assigning, it creates integer variable. If you're assigning float value, float variable gets created dynamically, right? Dynamic data types is same. So based upon what you are assigning, if you're assigning a string value, string variable gets created. Fine, right? So these are the four cases, right? Okay. Fine. So tomorrow also everyone you can attend the session, right? Same time with the same link to see more on this, right? Data types concept, right? Fine. So I'll stop here for today. So any other queries, right? Anyone, if I've got any queries?
So what will be the timing of this course?
So daily it will be like 9 o'clock to 9 to 10, right?
Okay.
Fine. Okay. So I'm stopping here. If I'm done with your queries, then I'll meet you tomorrow, same time, right? Same, you can follow the same link. Right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you for your time.